What will happen to a Great Wall motor HAVAL Jolion after 3 years of ownership in the harsh Russian winter conditions and 130,000 kilometers on the clock? Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Today is a very interesting video for you. I know I have a lot of owners of Chinese cars here on my channel, and I love these videos myself. So today we're once again featuring an already known wonderful channel that requires no introduction, but here it goes again. Klubniy Servis Moscow and their host, one and only Ilya. I'm a massive fan, and they are once again disassembling a HAVAL Jolion. They already have done this in the past, and you may have seen that video on my channel before. This is not a repeat, this is a brand new video, because here they are disassembling a different vehicle, not a brand new one, but the one that has 130,000 kilometers on the clock. That's a lot, that's a long, very, very big distance. I know you're interested in those videos, so here is another one for you. And here we will see what exactly went wrong with this car in the relatively harsh Russian winter conditions, autumns, and certainly a lot more exposure to elements than we're seeing here in Australia. This will be very, very interesting for you. If you are not a subscriber yet, this is your opportunity to contemplate and think maybe you should be, because this is the only place where you will get this translated, honest content that you will not get from other English-speaking channels. And maybe give me a quick like if you think I deserve it. This video is sponsored by the old friends of this channel, Autocast. Autocast are very well established on the market, manufacturers of wireless Android Auto and wireless Apple Carplay AI boxes, which is basically a wireless adapter for your car. If your car is struggling with wireless connectivity to built-in wired Android Auto, wired Apple Carplay, then Autocast is one of the major biggest brands that are offering massive discounts to my community to check out. Check out the links in the description below. They have a lot of units. Lately I've reviewed like a couple of them, and this is also your chance to check the Auto Gear Reviews sister channel of mine, of Value Cars Australia, where I go in depth into unboxing, installation, and other things about these units. Check them out. Without any further ado, let me tell you specifically of what Ilya will be showing us and talking to us about. So as I already said, this HAVAL Jolion is a used car that is 3 years old, and it has not been used in Moscow. It has been used in some other Russian region, as the number plate is not 77 but 33. It shows to you that it's not Moscow, so it's not exposed to particularly notoriously bad winter salted roads that are in Moscow. Yet winters are winters, and weather conditions are still comparable, but that's worth pointing out here. As a quick reminder, HAVAL Jolion has been already for several years and remains one of the, if not the most popular compact crossover, as they say, SUV vehicle on the Russian market, because of the very, very good combination of its looks, its good characteristics compared to the local manufactured cars such as Ladas, and the price. Everything is more expensive now during these crazy times in Europe. It's been already for years in Russia, but this remains to be something where the quality meets the price at the right kind of angle, and that contributes probably to HAVAL Jolion's massive popularity in Russia. Ilya starts his review here with the paint. He uses the device to check the thickness of the paint. It is stock paint. It's original Chinese stock paint from GWM, from HAVAL, and there are some little scuffs and chips that he shows to us, nothing major. Some of them were manually sort of hand touched up, where the owner tried to obviously preserve a little bit of that integrity of the paint cover to varied extent of success, I suppose. So, but speaking of thickness, Ilya says that from a Japanese car, stock paint, he would expect the thickness to be around between 90 and 170 microns. That's what that device, that little pen that he's using, should show. Here it's very different, looking very thin, and he's not surprised, Ilya, and not shying away from telling us that, yes, it's preserved largely, but at the same time it's quite thin. So you can draw your own conclusions whether it's good or bad. It generally is not a good thing. He tries the bonnet, and to be fair, goes around, tries the doors as well. On the doors it's even thinner by the look of it, but he says on average he's seeing about 60 microns, which is definitely not great. Next thing he mentions is the windscreen. Of course, 130 kilometers on the clock is a long time. That's where something like windscreen, so exposed to elements, so exposed to wind, so exposed to screen, to wipers and everything else, is a bit worn out, a bit scuffed. Yeah, and particularly he thinks that the driver would start seeing the difference and a bit of that, not to say blurry vision, but a bit of the affected vision from a worn-out windscreen at night, where there are reflecting lights and so on and so forth. So 130,000 kilometers, probably time to change it. Looking at the back, we need to firstly address the creativity of the owner, as Ilya says, who for some unknown reason wasn't happy with the full word HAVAL there, so he removed the first and the last letters for some reason and invented his own brand, AVA, or whatever you want to call it. So why? Who knows? Ilya tries to be nice here, evidently, and compliments the owner's creativity. Who am I to judge if he is not judging the original narrative here? But I'd personally say, from my own humble opinion, why? It's just freaking weird. Embrace the fact that you're driving HAVAL and stop being original. Just drive it, mate. Why do it? Now back to serious stuff. Ilya points out that the car must have had a rare collision incident of sorts. A minor one by the looks of it, but it still happened. Because checking the paint thickness here, we can see completely different parameters, so much thicker. It means that there was aftermarket spraying done for these panels. They've done a pretty good job at matching the color by the looks of it, but it still was clearly done. He also opens the tailgate and says that looking closely, he kind of can see slightly changed geometry of the sheet of the metal of the tailgate itself, which proves yet again that there was a rare hit. It was fixed, okay, but at the same time they only bothered with the rear panel and the tailgate itself. But you can see particularly that where the rear bumper and the rear panel above the wheel come together, it's particularly imperfect, and they didn't bother fixing it to perfection. They just left it as it is. Whatever, maybe we would have done differently, but they've done that. They proceed to look at the engine very closely. It's one of the questions that would concern most of potential second or third buyers of the used Jolion or any other car for that matter. What's the condition of the engine? Well, to remind, it's a China-made 1.5 petrol turbo petrol engine, obviously. Before they dive into engine, quite literally, hang in there, Ilya mentions that the Chinese DCT here, it comes with a DCT and it works in a very particular way, in his opinion, which he doesn't like. But he's a Japanese car driver, so it comes with certain expectations. He acknowledges that for those who have driven Chinese vehicles, or particularly HAVALs, the GWMs, that do their DCTs in a particular way, for them it probably would feel normal. Nothing is broken there, but just the nature of how that DCT is tuned and works, the rollback on the incline, and no precise stopping where you think it will stop, like slight jerkiness, it just comes with the package, and I guess it is a matter of you accepting it or rejecting it during the test drive. And now they're going to remove the spark plugs, revealing the cylinder openings, which allows them to access directly and measure internal compression of each cylinder well. So Ilya mentions that the spark plugs are of Champion brand. If it tells you anything, it didn't tell me anything, but apparently they are actually cheap, prone to cracking. Of course, the car has had 130 kilometers on the clock, so perhaps it's respectable. It's not fatal, obviously, but they do need to be replaced. Compression of the engine cylinders, all four of them, is showing the values between 10 and 10.2, which apparently for a Chinese car at this kilometrage is a good result, according to Ilya. Now they're going to use a special camera even to look right into the cylinders for any other kind of cracks, any other kind of scratches, anything else, to look at the real condition of how the pistons and piston bed are going in there, and anything else that would please auto mechanics and would only serve as an entertaining background for you and me and 90% of my viewers, I'm guessing. Okay, so what are they seeing and what does it mean? Tells me nothing. I'm looking at this just like you do. At first time I was looking at it, I thought it would be interesting, but I don't know what I'm looking at really. But it says that everything is in good condition. A bit of those brownie sideburns is normal for this distance of the engine traveling. Officially, the engine is supposed to run without any problems stated by the manufacturer until about 200,000 kilometers. And Ilya points out some very, very minor scratches inside of cylinders, which are absolutely not a problem at the moment. There is no loss of oil or anything caused by that. But it's part of that aging life cycle. It's kind of a start of that life cycle that then will erode further, is the point made here. Explainable, not surprising, good condition. Now to the underbelly of the car and the suspension itself. Before we can take a look at suspension properly, they have to show you the Russian unique way to make the wheel loose, as it was not apparently coming off peacefully, kind of got stuck there, so needed to be kicked a bit. Yeah, baby, why not? So now we will look at the underbelly itself. How is the body looking underneath? Before you point out how clean it is, Ilya actually stops and acknowledges the fact that they washed it before filming, as they review a lot of cars. You've seen a lot of cars translated, these videos showcased on my channel. They don't always do it. Sometimes you see them pretty dirty, like original kind of look. But here they did it to be able to see any defects, any scuffs, anything quite properly, and they've done a pretty good job here. That's why it looks so clean. The main thing he's pointing out here is the evidence of paint scuffs everywhere, which just tells us that I'm kind of filling in the blanks here again, that the owner must have driven on very particular roads, maybe with sand, not in Moscow, like I already mentioned, but somewhere where that scuffing, the little gravel perhaps, or little sand, has kind of like taken the paint, the black paint, off the underbelly, and you see some loss of that paint, and you see on almost original metal there showing through. So it's just a condition of the driving, nothing too bad, especially as Ilya says, there are no obvious signs of rust anywhere, which is the greatest, I think, thing for us to know. Rear brakes look like they were definitely replaced, possibly not just the pads but the discs as well, as the wear and tear that Ilya is seeing is minimal. There are no leaks on the amortization elements. The car was clearly looked after over the course of the first ownership, and Ilya says that that is something that's particularly valuable and to any subsequent owners. The better the car was looked after during the first course of ownership, especially as a Chinese car, he says the better it is for the other owners. Quite obviously why. Going towards the front and looks at the clearance a little bit, addresses the fact that clearance is clearly not enough for this vehicle, even though officially it's stated at 19 centimeters. There are some scuffs there and some tears, little minor tears on that plastic element of under bumper, under frontal bumper. So a tiny bit more of the clearance, or at least to those conditions that the owner of the car is driving in, would have been better. Looking further at the front of the whole thing, he comments on engine and DCT from underneath. No leaks here. He looked from above, now he looks from underneath, which once again shows that the car is in good condition with nothing majorly wrong. Frontal suspension is also appearing fine. The car is light, doesn't weigh much, so Ilya says probably that lightness generally of the body is also helping it not to wear anything underneath it. Well, logically, physics is physics. You can't argue with that. So he kind of gives it a 4 or 4.5 out of 5. If he had to give it a rating, that's as high as he goes here. Still looking at McPherson struts-based frontal suspension, Ilya once again points out that there are no leaks, brake pads and discs are clearly new and recently changed, kind of repeats himself a little bit here. I'm just translating it for what it's worth. And some very, very minor corrosion is seen on the brake discs, but that once again is pointed out as normal. Ilya says that he would expect it on Japanese or any other car brand where those bits always catch rust, a bit of rust. All the pipes and wires connected to the ABS sensors retain their flexibility and are in good order. So again, all in all, not better, not worse than any other brand, Japanese or any other, just as one would expect, which I take as a very, very good result. So what now? Ilya says that they are now happy with the inspection of the core mechanicals and the undercarriage, I suppose, of the whole vehicle. So now they will put all of that back together, put the car onto the ground and disassemble the interior to take a look at what's inside of this as opposed to outside and underneath of the car. Is there anything dodgy going on? So let's take a look. Main discovery here is that there is quite a bit of moisture. Quite a bit of drops of water, as you can see here and there, pretty much everywhere, quite a bit of it. And Ilya is going to now investigate and show us where this moisture is coming from. That's interesting. So it's not from the tailgate before you suspect that, because there was that minor incident, so you think the geometry has changed, hence the tailgate possibly is leaking. He doesn't think that it was deformed enough during that minor incident to cause that leak, but yet he still sees those drops, kind of the moisture evidence everywhere in the boot of the vehicle and just across the floor. All right, so he once again kind of goes on the little tirade here, saying that Chinese vehicles offer good balance of price versus quality, which is of particular benefit to this first owner who bought the car brand new. But here is another. But here, this moisture is an example of where even with a good, sort of maintenance of this vehicle, with the regular servicing, with caring about your car, the second and the third owner might have to pay, one way or another, for those imperfections, being kind of late to the party and receiving what else has happened to the car after the first course of ownership has ended. The only thing that he is explicitly pointing out here in this video is that he says there is no obvious rust anywhere on the inside, even in spite of that moisture currently being there present. So, which is yet again very, very good news. So now he looks at the interior carpets. So they lifted the carpets, yeah, and this is where the water is clearly getting in and is mostly accumulated in those spongy elements that of the dismantled carpet mats. This is where, long story short, he suspects that that's where the feet of the driver and the frontal passengers are mostly, and they drive the car during Russian muddy autumn and snowy winters. So that's where the snow melts, and that's how the water gets inside of the vehicle, and that's where it gets accumulated in those carpets and how it gets spread out during the kind of driving across the floor of the vehicle, unfortunately. So that's a good theory of how it's getting in. They are going to feature their sound and thermal insulation materials once again for us, of less relevance of us overseas, but it's interesting that that's what they do. Probably there are equivalent materials all over the world. So they're basically going to lay out the whole floor of the car and the wheel arches and the usual stuff. They basically are not going to leave any stone unturned, so to speak, of the interior with those sticky pads, but this time not just for the purpose of dealing with vibro and sound insulation issues, which is typically what they try to mitigate here, but to thermally insulate the interior, cutting out water access to the metal of the body of the car, as this is still virtually impossible to prevent the water from getting inside of the vehicle if the driver and the passengers are planning to continue using the car during Russian winters, which we have no reason to believe that they will not. But they will cut out the water and oxygen access of that moisture to the metal that will otherwise suffer from it eventually. Even if not yet, there is no rust yet, but it might end up being that. So good idea. I think it's a great way to do this. I can't think of a better way. And as always, it's a pleasure to see these guys at work. I just could watch this for hours virtually. So summarizing this video, my friends, Ilya from Klubniy Servis has once again shown us the imperfections, but a lot of also good things, and the proof that China-made crossovers or SUVs are still very good, especially for the first-time owner who will care about their vehicle, especially if you're not driving it in Russian winter, autumn, and in relatively dry conditions most of the time. Of course, sun, sand have its own detrimental effects, of course, on the vehicle, overheating, other kind of things. It would be a different kind of problem. But generally, we're seeing here that the balance between the price and the quality is more than acceptable. So this is at least in this HAVAL Jolion. So overall, I would say that this review was rather positive for Ilya, because if you have watched previous translations, previous reviews of Klubniy Servis, where they talk about Chinese cars, they are not massive fans of Chinese cars in general. Yeah, he is a bit, I'm not going to say snobbish, but Ilya is being fair, very fair. That's why I love his channel. But he generally kind of gives Chinese cars sometimes deserved, but hard time, really hard time for cutting corners, for using cheaper materials, blah, 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 strange mechanical engineering kind of solutions sometimes. But in this case, he really didn't bash it. It was great for me to see. I think you would enjoy that too. Hopefully you did. If you did, this is it, my friends. More of the translations of Klubniy Servis and other channels are coming over the course of 2025. This is part of the core content and the featuring of other channels, respectful featuring, referring you to the original creators, whether they need that referral or not. I'm happy to provide it for them as a free service, but at the same time benefit from showing you something really, really fun. If you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you will consider the fact that you are probably not going to get access to the raw translated material from Russian into English anywhere else on YouTube that I'm aware of. So please consider subscribing, giving this video always a like. Don't be one of those bums who watches the whole video and then leaves without even giving me a quick acknowledgement of my hard work, and just basically helping the YouTube algorithm for promoting our little content. And goodbye for now. Come back next week for something more, because there is always a lot more of where this came from. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.